So thanks, man. Appreciate you coming on. Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be interesting to chat to you. So how are you today?
Very good. Obviously, just finished the workout, so body a little bit tired, but very good.
Okay, good. Why are you good? What's going on in your life that gives you the reason to say that you're good at the moment?
It's quite an interesting question, and I guess sometimes people ask you when you come across them, "How are you?" And the first thing that comes to mind is, "I'm good." And sometimes maybe you're not so good, and then you end up saying, not so well. So I guess my approach has now changed in the way that bad times and good times are always going to be there. But I'm trying to focus mostly on the good things that I have going in my life, like my health, my family, work is going well. So I guess that's why now every time I come across someone, my response will always be good.
Yeah, an attitude of gratitude, eh?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what we need, because obviously, like I said, life is about ups and downs. And if you can win it in the head, you've won half the battle.
Absolutely. I wanted to chat to you. A good place to start with any interview, I think, is the beginning. So tell me a little bit about your childhood, and then secondly, how do you think your childhood shaped you into the man that you are today?
So, born in Umtata in the Eastern Cape, so proud Eastern Cape boy. Grew up there until 95, and then we moved to East London, went to Hudson Park. So my childhood was a very good one. When I look back, I can't really think of times when I would be like, oof, there was a period in my life when I didn't really enjoy it. I guess also when you are young, you don't take a lot of things seriously. You just go along.
Yeah.
And all you're looking forward to is playing and having a good time. And I come from a big family where we've got 3 brothers. And when we were growing up, there was always a full house. There were cousins, friends. So in the house, it was always full of life and energy. So, and how my upbringing shaped me, I think the one thing that I'll always take was what my dad taught me without saying much, because my father was not a guy of many words, but he was more action driven. So he was about discipline. I always tell my kids nowadays that they're actually lucky in a way, because I got a lot of spanking properly. And when I told them what my dad used, they couldn't believe that actually a person that loves you does that to you.
Yeah.
But that's the different times we are in. But I know that he loved us a lot, and he taught us discipline was one thing that was quite key and what shaped me, and also work ethic. My dad, when we stayed in Umtata, he was based in East London, his work. So every day, every week, he would drive back and forth. And people that know that understand that it's quite a long drive, 2.5 hours. So every week he would do that. But throughout that, not one day he would ever complain about fatigue, or maybe I don't feel like doing it this week. He would just get up, do what he has to do. So those are the things that I have learned rather, by just watching and seeing how no matter what, he just goes about what he has to do. So those are the 2 things that I think stands out, which is discipline and hard work.
That's amazing, man. That's a great segue into the next thing that I was going to speak to you about. Your dad's name is Ngisa.
That's it.
Which means to persevere.
Perseverance, yeah.
That's amazing, man. So when I think of you as a rugby player, I think if there was one moment that stands out to me, it was that Sharks Crusaders game 2007, 3rd of March. And
3rd of March, I didn't even know.
3rd of March,
Yeah.
3rd of the 3rd.
One thing I know about you're good with your memory. Eh?
I'm good with my memory.
I won't question you on that.
And my sport, eh? And it was such an interesting game, and it's a great way to it's a great example of perseverance, living up to the meaning of your father's name, because Sharks unbeaten at that stage in the season. Home game against the Crusaders have been dominant in Super Rugby for a long time. And in the 22, Jacques Boertes offloads in the tackle. You get the ball, knock it on over the try line. Okay. And I watched that video the other day, and then fast forward to the end of the game. Crusaders have an opportunity to get rid of the ball, kick it out. They don't. They play. Eddie Jacobs runs a line like only he can run a line. Gets the offload from AJ Fenter. And then you, coming from playing right wing that day, come down from the midfield on the left-hand side. So you've worked your way across the field into a position where Eddie's made the break. You tearing down that left-hand side, the only guy that's within touching distance of him in support at the end of the game. He gives the pass maybe a tad early, maybe a touch.
Yeah,
He could have drawn it.
Well, he backed my speed.
He backed his speed, yeah. He could have done you a favor. He could have maybe held on to it just a touch longer. But what I find so fascinating, it's a great example of perseverance, is when you got the ball, there was an opportunity for you to draw that fullback, Scott Hamilton, again and pass back inside to 80, and he would have had a run. But taking everything into consideration, the history of what happened earlier in the game, you thought about it, because I could see there was that time when you considered, but then under the left arm it went, and off you went for that corner. And that's an amazing example of perseverance. And I think that's something that's highlighted your entire career. You know, you've persevered and you backed yourself under pressure. And it's a great example that you let go of what happened earlier in that game, and under pressure you were able to execute and to back yourself. And that's an amazing thing. So do you think that you've lived up to your father's name, the meaning of his name of perseverance?
Oh, well, I think I tried.
Mm-hmm.
I think we will never know until people look back in your life if you've really lived up to your full potential.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like you say, lived up to that, to his name per se. But going back to that game, we actually started training that move that week of the Crusaders. I remember we spoke about it at training, and it was perfect. It worked perfectly at training, and we knew that it's going to work perfectly against them. And so be it. We get a scrum right early on, and everyone knows this position is perfect for this move, and execute the move perfectly. And you would know, being in Durban, it was March, so it was quite humid.
I was at that game. I was watching it live.
So it was quite humid, and the ball was like soap. And get the scrum, solid scrum, and then, like you say, Jacques breaks, or is it AJ broke, and then offload with a back flip to Jacques, and then Jacques only had to draw one guy, and I had an open try line. So I still remember, and my kids now and again have a look at it, and we have a laugh about it. But one thing that happened is, somehow, as much as I let myself down and I let the team down, I I wasn't too hard on myself, because I could have been, I could have said to myself, oh my gosh, that's the best way to start. And then that would have obviously added a lot of pressure on myself. But so throughout the whole game, you are trying to just do something. You're trying, you're pushing, and you speak about how at the end I scored on the left side, because somehow I still felt there was something in me to still do in that game. And it worked out perfectly. And funny enough, I bumped into one of the journalists, and he spoke about how he had typed his article about how I'd stuffed up the game, but now he had to change it from zero to hero. But it was quite I think a lot of people also speak about that game. But to your question, perseverance, I think it's something that is quite important for everyone, be it in sport, be it in business, be it in life, because life is all about getting over challenges and never giving up. And one thing one of our coaches used to say, you gotta be able to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a nicer way of getting over mistakes, because mistakes are part and parcel of it. So as I played and I grew in the game, I knew that it's quite important to forgive yourself. And whenever you go into a game, you will make mistakes, and it's part of it. But the quicker you move on, the better you can finish.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you fast forward to 2008, Springbok debut against Italy. I remember that
in the rain.
In the rain, yeah. And it actually popped up when Francie was playing, was fly half for the Boks last year against Argentina, when we had to win that rugby championship game by a certain amount of points. And this is the last time he played fly half. And they showed that 15, and then there you were making your debut. I didn't realize that was actually when you made your debut in that game.
I could not sleep that night, by the way. Oh my gosh. The nerves was something else. And funny enough, the one day when I was at SuperSport, we were chatting about it, and in studio it was me, Bobs, and Nick Mallet. And funny enough, Nick was the coach of the Italian team.
Oh yes,
yeah. So we had some fun just talking about that game. But going back to that, it was because it was one of those mid-tour series before the Tri-Nations back in those days, and we had played 2 games against Wales, and PDV had told me that the 3rd game against Italy, that's when I'm going to make my debut. So that whole week I was just full of excitement and nervous energy, but it was something I don't think you can ever forget, because it's such a special moment. And obviously going on to win it, and my wife, who was my girlfriend there then, was also there, so it was quite special.
That's amazing, man. There's a lovely saying I heard, it's you first have to be the fool before you become your savior, your own savior. And what that means is, Les Brown, a motivational speaker, said anything worth doing is worth doing badly in the beginning. So in essence, it means that you've got to persevere and forgive yourself through the beginning parts of when you're trying to learn either a new skill or to adapt to a new level in your career, in order to become the expert in that area and become totally comfortable in that sphere that you've now entered into. And that's something that you've done throughout your career, during rugby and then after, because then from there, 2017, you hang up the boots, you move into construction. So then again, you now have an opportunity where you've got to start, and you've got to be the novice, for the want of a better word, and learn about this new sphere that you enter into. And then from there again, you decide to take that leap, and then you work on live television for SuperSport as an analyst. Again, completely different to being on the rugby field. Brings a whole set of skills that are required. And you've consistently been able to cast away that self-doubt that comes along with something new, something uncomfortable, and persevered to become very, very good at those things.
And to your point is, I guess at a lot of times, all of us as humans put ourselves under pressure. And we put ourselves under pressure because of the drive to be successful and the expectation that we have on our ability, be it based on past experience or just because of how driven you are to be successful. And to your point about being a fool in the beginning is, how do you look at failure? And there's a thing that goes like, I don't fail, but I rather learn. And if you look at it with that approach, then it's easier to take.
Yeah.
Because as much as it's just a simple word, as in fail or learning, you learn, you move on so much easier and so much quicker, knowing that, you know what, this is part of my learning experience. And bringing it back to, starting a new journey, I think it helps a lot that I come from the rugby world where I had to start from the bottom and work my way up. You know that at some stage, there's all of these stages that you have to go through, and you have to buy your time, and you have to work through it and work at it. And with the construction, it's a massive opportunity for me, and one thing that I always tell myself is I gotta keep improving, I gotta keep developing myself to be better at what I do. And similar to when you are a young athlete, how do you develop yourself? By developing your skill, by in the gym, training, and all of that. So I took a decision that I need to now work a different muscle, which was my brain.
Yeah.
So I decided to study at my old age. My kids are always saying to me, "Why are you studying so when you are so old?"
Everybody's got exams.
Yeah.
Kids have exams. Dad's got exams.
I know.
Yeah.
Funny enough, even last night, one of my daughter's friends was at home. She asked me a very interesting question. She says to me, "I thought you study so that you can get a job, but you have a job, so why are you studying?" And which was quite interesting.
Yeah.
And so my answer to her was that the question that you've asked is so important, because you look at me now and you think you've got a job, but why are you studying? Why do you feel the need to go back and study? But the drive for me is to improve myself and to better myself. And I believe if I can work harder on myself, I can add more value to the team.
Yeah.
And that's what is the drive for any successful organization. Everyone has got to do their part. Everyone has got to add value. And if you're just there for the ride and you're not adding value and you're not improving yourself, you will eventually find yourself short.
Yeah. And everybody must be willing and excited to learn.
Definitely.
i.e. fail.
And there's nothing wrong with asking questions.
Exactly.
And that was my biggest challenge when I first got onto the other side, because I could be in a meeting with guys with a lot of experience. And I first doubt myself because I don't think I can add value. But you'll be surprised. And all of us have, especially the older you get, you've got some experience that life has taught you. And in any situation, doesn't matter what, you can always add value. But you got to fight through that self-doubt that you have inside. And you sit in that meeting and you want to ask something, but you think to yourself, maybe this question will make me look stupid, or these guys will think, oh my gosh, what did this guy just ask? But you'll find that perhaps that question will probably solve the problem of a lot of people.
Yes.
Because you coming in with a different view, and your question actually just simplifies the whole thing. So it is part of that journey when you come into a new environment, just to fight through that self-doubt. And my biggest thing nowadays is, in line with what we are saying, you gotta work harder on your mindset. Work harder, because once you win your mind, and then you can control your mind rather than the mind controlling you.
Absolutely.
Because it's so easy to find an escape route, a reason why not, a reason why, I've come to you a lot of times and I didn't feel like training.
Exactly. Fitness is a great example of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because there's thousands of different reasons, and we're great at giving ourselves excuses as to why we shouldn't go to gym that day or whatever. And ultimately, somebody actually asked me the other day, they asked me about the people that look good in the gym. Like, you go to a Vision Active, there's people that are in shape, and the people that are not in shape. And I said the biggest difference between the people that are in shape and the people that are not in shape are that the people that are in good condition are the ones that go to gym when they don't feel like going to gym.
Yeah.
The assumption is always that somebody that's in shape always wants to go to the gym, but that's totally not true.
Not at all.
Not at all. Most people don't enjoy going to the gym. If there's somebody that's in shape, they might enjoy going to the gym maybe half the time.
And I guess that's the thing about discipline, right? You hear all these big athletes that have achieved so much, and they talk about going that extra, or rather going to training or going to gym when you look outside, it's so cold. Your body's tired. But it's all about making that decision. So, and for me, it's something that I'm trying to teach to my kids. But I know they're still quite young now, and sometimes they don't really understand. So it's a fine line between pushing them too much and just, making them understand. Because, for example, my daughter could be, at school they could say, no, all the players in the A team must start, they do the running in the morning.
Yeah.
And there'll be days where she maybe at a late night and she doesn't feel like it. So my thing is to teach her now, lay that foundation to her now with exactly what you just said. Because you reap the rewards much later.
Exactly.
What you put in now, you'll get at a later stage. And I think that's where a lot of us, we don't truly understand that, and I always go back to a Grammy Award. What's the movies? Is it Grammys or Oscars?
Academy Awards, yeah.
Academy Awards. Matthew McConaughey.
Yes.
So that speech.
Yes, when he said, who's my hero?
It goes on 10 years.
Yeah. I remember that.
And for me, how I decode that speech is exactly what we are speaking about. In that, if you want to get the shape that you want, you have to first of all make that decision, and you got to be patient through the journey, because nothing will come overnight, and nothing worthwhile will come overnight. You have to sweat, you have to hate what you are doing, but having that hate of waking up, but the reward at the end will be worthwhile. The journey sometimes might not be nice, or part of it might not be nice, but it will be so much more fulfilling when you look back at what you've achieved. And in most cases, it's something that you thought you would never in a million years achieve.
Exactly.
Similar like your rock climbing or
the abseiling.
Abseiling.
Yeah. Exactly.
Precisely.
But then discipline takes on a whole new form as well, in the sense that you have to be disciplined enough to be willing to be the full first before becoming the expert and good at whatever that might be. And then in the gym, that's another good example, is that you have to be willing to feel uncomfortable in the gym, maybe not knowing how the equipment works, being uncomfortable in that you see a whole lot of other people who know what they're doing, or at least look like they know what they're doing and are in shape, till eventually you persevere into being that person who you once used to look at them and thinking, wow, they've got it together, until you eventually become that person.
Yeah.
And that's what you were able to do again at SuperSport when you came on to live TV for the first time. So how were those nerves compared to, let's say, your Springbok debut? Which one were you more nervous about, that first live set?
Wow. I think probably more or less the same. And it just comes down to, because that night I done my whole preparation that week, but somehow you still have this voice just saying, what if you make a fool of yourself? And that's the self-doubt that we spoke about. And you know, there was one of my role models when I was playing was Tana Umaga. And he always said his whole focus, or rather his whole mental preparation, was purely focused on doing the good things. He never allowed doubt to creep in, because doubt can consume you and you end up wasting energy over something that might never happen. And where you focus and where you put your whole focus is very important. And building up to that, and while we were doing the game, I kept checking my time to see how much longer do we have. Because now I want to just, that whole setup just felt so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It felt so intimidating, because you're sitting here and you've always, because the way I looked at it, I watched before and I thought, there's no way I could be doing that. I never thought that I could be the one sitting behind the camera in front of the whole of Mzansi and sharing what I thought, just because of my personality. I bottled myself and said, no, that could never be me. I could never do that. That's for all those other guys doing it currently, not for me. You see how I'm belittling myself. I'm stopping and slowing myself from really living to my true potential. So that first experience was so intimidating. And now I still get butterflies before I go on live TV. But I've got to a stage where now I just focus on the positives. And mistakes do still happen. But if I make a mistake, or rather I feel like I've made a mistake, it depends how I continue from that.
Yes.
Because the people, the panel might not pick it up, or the viewers at home might not pick it up that I've actually said something wrong. But my reaction will be a dead giveaway.
Yes.
And also, while you're at it, knowing that, oh man, I made a mistake. I said something I shouldn't have said, or I should have said it this way. But to be able to move on.
To forgive yourself.
To forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Because mistakes do happen, but you still have 20, 30 minutes to still enjoy what you're doing. And I think that's what's so important, is I need to go there and enjoy it. Because if I don't enjoy it, then why should I continue doing it?
Yeah.
Because it's meant to be, and it has really been something that I really look forward to. Because now, the only way I'll enjoy it is if I bring my strength and do and contribute, and not try and play it safe.
Yeah.
And just and be present, I guess.
That's amazing, man. And that's a great way to leave it for today, because
Are we already done?
we'd already done.
I went by so quickly.
Yeah, it's amazing. Time flies when you're having fun. Eh?
So they say.
And it's come full circle. So from when you brought in that advice from your coach in your playing career, learn to forgive yourself. And then that ties in beautifully with then having the discipline to be willing to endure being the novice or the fool in the interests of personal development and becoming that expert and being that person that you thought that you could never be.
And it also, I think, it comes to understanding and knowing that you'll never know it all. And there'll always be someone in sport terms much better than you, much stronger than you. But if you just focus on what you can do and what you can control, I think that's the best way to look at it. That's the exciting part of life. So life is meant to be enjoyed. It's exciting, and every day, it's like I came across something where someone says, if I give you R1 million,
Yes.
would you take it?
Yeah.
Yes. I gave you 10 million rand, would you take it? Yes. But I give you that 10 million rand, but you don't get to wake up. So that, for me, just sums it all up.
Now all of a sudden you don't want the 10 million rand.
Sums it all up that and also a lot of things in life that are free, we take for granted.
Yeah, 100%.
Getting up in the morning, go for a walk, and coming to gym. A lot of things that we take for granted, and we always focus on the small negative things.
Yeah.
Things that don't really matter. So, yeah, I'm excited for you.
Yeah,
Firstly,
thank you, man. Appreciate that.
I'm really excited of the journey that you are embarking on. I know it's going to be such a successful time. It's going to be such a fulfilling part of your life. I'm quite happy to have been the first one to officially open this road.
The Expect Performance podcast.
The Expect Performance podcast. And one thing I always say is never despise the day of small beginnings. Because one day you will look back at this and be like, probably when you have a whole building of radio station. But Clint, I wish you all the best.
Thanks, man.
You're going to be flying.
Thank you. And thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. Appreciate the time.
Only a pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Adi.